Hello everyone. So I'm Utsav Chirimar from the XIMB VM batch of 2021-23. I'm presently the General Secretary of the Student Executive Council. Before joining XIMB, I was a fresher and I've done my undergraduation from Calcutta. So talking about my SIP experience, I was placed at BCN and my location was in Gurgaon. However, that being said, the experience was a hybrid one. As such, we were required to go to the office 3 days a week and we had a work from home twice a week. So it was largely a MS Teams based SIP is what I would say. And there are no fixed hours at Bain. The working hours are based on how your team wants you to work and what the team dynamics are. It did involve a lot of traveling in the sense that in many occasions we were required to go to the client's location to have an interaction for a better understanding with them. So that is how largely the internship went. There were days when it was extremely hectic, at the same time learning, but there were days also we got over early. But all in all, I'd say that it was a fabulous experience. So talking about the gap which is there in when you are there learning theoretically and when you are actually going there on ground and applying there. So there is some amount of gap because once you start working on your project, there will be concepts you are applying and then you maybe have a throwback that, okay, this was something we did learn in class. And perhaps a little bit of regret, maybe you could have studied this a little better when you were there back in college. But I'd say that the application part is extremely useful thanks to the SIP that is offered in MBA college. A lot of concepts, because you know it only theoretically, you do not really know how to apply it because there is a difference. It is not always 100% accurate as to what is taught in a textbook that actually gets applied. But those basic fundamentals do come up in handy. So I'd say like we had multiple subjects in first year which did help us bridge the gap between this theory and practical. Say managerial computing. Excel was a tool largely used during the SIP. There are subjects like say operations management. So my project largely dealt with a supply chain case. So the concepts I had studied in say OM1 or OM2 does help you understand better. In college you are also taught communication. So we, as a theory, does not make a lot of sense in many occasions and you wonder as to whether it's going to be beneficial or not. But when you are in a new environment and you have to make an impact in 2 months and you have to portray yourself well in front of your seniors and explain your points through, that is where communication also comes in. So I'd say that theory does act as a foundation for your practical learning. There is a gap, but that's the fun part, bridging the gap between theory and practical. So at BCN, there are not many prerequisites that you need, but there are simple tasks which they ask you to do before joining. They had a proper induction program wherein they made us aware about the work culture, how the work will be, what the nature of the work will be. At the same time, the company sent us a list of assignments or certification courses which we could have done. It largely ran around Tableau, Alteryx and MS Excel. But one thing which was told to us in the induction and the orientation also is that Excel is something you need to know. Whatever your client may be, whatever the project may be, Excel is something which does really come in handy. So there was a lot of force on learning Excel before we joined at BCN. However, that being said, if we did not master these resources, even when our SIP was ongoing, once a week we had training sessions for the interns so that you are well versed with these courses and you will be able to apply them well in your project. I'm very grateful that as a fresher this question has come up. Reason being that I feel it's one of the biggest myths that has come up around MBA, that it's something that only people with WorkX can do and WorkX benefits you. Maybe WorkX has its advantages in some areas, but I feel being a fresher has also helped many of us. So I think it's a huge myth that MBA is only for WorkX and if you want to succeed in MBA, you need to have a WorkX. When we joined BCN, there were people with WorkX who joined, there were freshers such as me who joined, but we were all there at the same page. So at the end of it, even if you have a work ex or you are a fresher, you're joining at the same level, you are handling the same projects because you've gone through the same curriculum and they've hired you at the same page. So it's all about how quick you can think, how well you can adapt, and how well you can understand the work that is being given to you. So the performance indicators at Bain included how well and how willing you are to learn. So there were no specifications about learning mistakes. In fact, something that was very commonly told to us during our entire internship period was that make mistakes. Make mistakes so that you can learn. And no senior or no client at Bain will pull you up for making a mistake. They will pull you up if you make the same mistake twice. So one parameter which we were always told that we will be judged on is that how many times you are making the same mistake. So if you are making the same mistake twice, definitely you are getting down marked. But if you are making a mistake, it also means that you are doing something new, you are trying something new out, and that is looked upon favorably. At the same time, another thing which was highly looked upon is your contribution in team meetings, whether you are vocal, whether you're giving your inputs, or are you just somebody who's been given a work, you're doing it and going out. So more you contribute, the more you are vocal, that generally helps in internship. That's what I would say from my experience. So my significant learnings from the SIP would be the fact that I was able to understand a lot of theoretical concepts that I've been studying at XIMB way better. So I previously also spoke about how operation management or managerial computer, there are subjects which are taught to us, but that's taught for a very limited period. In your SIP, you apply it day in, day out. When you're talking to your seniors or when you're talking to a client, you need to be very well versed with those concepts. Another thing that my SIP has taught me that learning never stops, and there's nothing that you cannot take up. So there were many things, many subjects, many topics that we were not really well versed with when we joined the company and took up the project. So we did a lot of reading throughout post office before joining work next day, and that really helped us do better at work the next day. So I think one key learning is that learning never stops, and you should always be willing to take up more work and explore new avenues so that your growth possibility increases. So one advice that I'd give to any future intern that might join BCN or any organization is that ask questions. Ask questions, ask what you're doing, why you're doing, what you will learn from this project, why are we doing this project. And I think that is something that any organization, any senior looks at very favorably. That shows that you are interested in understanding. You're not just doing mundane work which does not add up. So you should know that why you are doing what is been assigned to you. I think apart from that, I'd say that you have 2 months generally for your SIP, so make the most of it, enjoy it. There's nothing except work in those 2 months, and you have 2 months to make an impression and perhaps get that PPO from there. So give your 100% there, work, enjoy, but make the most of those 2 months.
Hi, I'm Susan Emmanuel from XIMB BM batch of 21-23. I have a work ex of 33 months in IT. I worked in TCS as a systems engineer. So here I work mainly on machine learning, artificial intelligence, and deep neural networks and all these networks. So I worked on a project called Smart Classroom Analytics, where I implemented a model on how to capture the students' activity in a classroom without affecting the teacher, without disturbing the teacher. So this was a project that was implemented by Intel. Right now, I'm pursuing business management in my second year, and I worked during my SIP. I worked in Avasant as a researcher. So my daily routine in Avasant was I used to have a stand-up call with my mentor, where we would discuss the past day's activities and what we would do for the future. And after a few weeks, I started working on the report, doing financial analysis, and I had more than 2 calls per day with my mentor. So this internship was more like an application of what I learned in class and applied it in my internship, basically through excellence strategy. So this was so whatever we learned in class was required to for me to perform at my job, like financial analysis, corporate deals analysis, classifying the deals. All this stuff I was able to apply in the internship. So thus, in a way, this internship was I helped. What I learned was knowing how to apply concepts learned in class accurately to my internship without any sort of misconception or any errors. So I wish I learned Excel strategy and financial analysis a bit more for this internship, so that it would have made the tasks easier. But nevertheless, it was doable without any prior courses. Some of the deliverables, the key indicators that I was judged on was financial analysis of data of the deals, number of deals captured, and accuracy of the deals. So what worked for me was, I did not do any courses in particular, but what worked for me was staying aware of what the course I was doing was teaching me and how to apply them in important concepts. It's difficult to remember everything what is taught in class. So knowing the important frameworks, what is required, and knowing how to apply them in relevant situations is what helped me crack my interview. And apart from that, the only other thing I was basically doing was case studies, which helped me actually apply these concepts in real time. So, I learned how consulting is as a career. Prior to this, I had no idea or experience whatsoever in consulting. This is an area where I learned how to manage time and work simultaneously, because in consulting you require to perform well under pressure and accurately under pressure, or else the work will get hectic. So this is what I learned mainly from my SIP. So my advice would be to, if you want to get shortlisted for any role you want and you don't have a relevant work ex or any CV pointer, make sure you do some courses relating to that role which you are applying. Maybe 3 or 4 in particular would help you, and then do a live project in the same domain. So this will help you actually get the role you want, and then you will be able to get through to the next round. This is all I have to say for the next one.
Hello, I am Pramit Nath, and I had my engineering background in information technology. Post that, I had a short stint at Tata Consultancy Services for a couple of years, where I was into quality assurance for a British telecom giant. So I interned at McKinsey Knowledge Center, and my role was that of a data analyst in supply chain and manufacturing unit. So there we had to talk to a lot of vendors as to who could be a perfect fit for one of our clients, which is in the tire industry and is a very big shot in the tire industry in India. And we had to collaborate with them as to know what are the requirements of the client and what the vendors could actually provide. And then we had to look at the numbers. We had to do number crunching and see what are the criterias that really fit in there. And we had to actually give solutions in order to cut down the costs of the client. So one thing that comes to my mind is that it's a totally different ball game when you're out in the field and when you're working with different stakeholders. So one particular incident which I can tell you about is when I was interacting with one of the vendors, and there was a sort of hesitance or resistance during the very initial phases of what the requirement actually was, and there was a bit of a communication gap as to what are the exact needs of the client and the vendor they were supposed to get onboarded with. But then when I actually got to understand more of their working, I was able to interact with them in a wholesome manner and actually get them on board, which I believe was a very difficult challenge, was a very big challenge during that time. But yeah, that was one of my key learnings from there. Okay, so I'd not say that there is nothing that they didn't teach me, and I had to sort of learn in the beginning. But one thing I would say is that if I have had more expertise in working with Power BI and Tableau and some of the Excel workings as well, that would have helped me even better. But that being said, it didn't take really much time because you had to do that sort of stuff over and over again, and it's just a mere matter of 2 days. Yes, so coming to this question in particular, I'll say that my work experience really helped me in getting the internship as well. So I'll give you a very quick background. So during my work experience, I had to work with huge quantities of numbers. So as I was part of the billing team, so I had to look out for the anomalies in where the billing system really faulted, and I had to look how we can provide solutions to an effective manner. So that really helped me get acquainted with the numbers, and that really helped me during my internship because there also I had to do a lot of number crunching, getting to know where are the getting to know the minute details where things could be really improved upon, and that can really help in cutting down the costs of the clients. Okay, so the performance indicators, they didn't actually really tell what they were looking for, but some of the things which I felt they were looking for were mostly your communication, your ability to work in a team, how you interacted with the client, how you interacted with the vendors, and one thing which I'd say is that your overall temperament in actually wanting to know how things really work, and your ability to scale up and really learn things fast so that you can implement into your solution and into your deliverables as soon and as effectively possible. Okay, so upskilling part, if I come to my upskilling part, I really worked more with Excels. I learned more about Tableau, Power BI, and how I can work more effectively with numbers, how I can look at data more interestingly and in sort of ways where people usually don't look at, they tend to overlook, but the minute details, the small aspects which we often miss out on, but that could actually add a lot of insights into the deliverables. So that is how I kind of tried to upskill myself. Okay, so here I understood that there's a lot of, in particularly the project I was interning at, so I'd say that there are a lot of factors, a lot of aspects which we tend to miss out on, particularly the unorganized sector. So there we had to work with vendors who didn't have a proper setting or a very big company, but they had their services down to the point and they were extremely good. So we had to try to understand how the things really work and how we can get more into the unorganized sector as well, so that that could be a very good addition to the team. Right. So I'd say that don't stress much. Okay. Try to learn as much as possible. Be curious about things. Try to understand how things really work. Don't be hesitant to ask any questions. The more the simple the questions are, the more difficult are the answers, right? So always try to go forward with an open mind and try to learn as much as possible, and that will really help you.